Whoa. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bangers, Bops, and Banter. This is what episode? This is episode 13. Wow. Nice. You know? That's like the unlucky number, right?
Yeah.
Um, so this podcast will go very well. I'm Joe, I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with Brendan.
Hi, I'm your other host, Brendan.
Oh, fuck. Here today, as we usually do. Here, what?
You're cutting out. We have a guest here today.
Oh, was that? Did I cut out?
You did a little bit.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry.
I thought it was me. I was scared.
No, you're good.
I was like, Brendan, do I come in and say my social security number now?
Yep, now would be a good time.
Now's a good time?
Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Kobe. I'm 19. And I think music should have ended in 2006 when Gnarls Barkley released the song Crazy.
Agree.
Yeah, big agree right there.
Yeah. Is that good? Yeah.
Yeah. It clearly peaked at that point.
We can end the podcast now, right?
Yeah.
Right,
We don't have
sweet.
to talk about anything else. Anyway.
This is the new, yeah.
So coming up in the podcast, we're going to talk about music and movie news. Then we're going to review and discuss the album Gawk by Vundabar, their 2015 album. And then we're going to talk about the movie we watched this week, Loving Vincent. Yeah.
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 The movie that some of us watched frame by frame, allegedly.
Yes, I watched it. Watched it frame by frame. Took a while.
Mm-hmm.
I started at the beginning of the week and I finished today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey to get here.
Yes. What a journey it has been. Anyway.
We're good at this.
Yeah. News time. Time for news. Whoa. We're gonna start with some music news. The Foo Fighters canceled their anniversary tour, or their 25th anniversary tour, which wow, it's really surprising. They basically just rescheduled it to next year.
That's crazy.
Because of the
It's
virus.
The
Yeah, no, big
anniversary tour.
Well, I'm unaware. Why would they cancel it? What's happening right now?
Oh, nothing. Don't worry.
No?
Nothing. There's
Yeah.
nothing is happening
Yeah.
except big bad disease.
Oh my god, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it turns people into zombies. So we just gotta wait a year for it to blow over.
And then we get to all go to the 26th anniversary of the Foo Fighters.
Yes. Oh my god.
Great. Yeah.
Great way to celebrate.
All right, guys.
Next to music news, I don't know. Is this really music news? Kanye West is a fucking idiot again.
This isn't really news. Like, this is just constant.
Oh,
Basically, Kanye West, who said he was running for president, and then he wasn't running for president, but then he actually was running for president. He just didn't fill out any of the forms needed to run for president in time. But I guess he is running for president. I guess Republicans have tried to get Kanye West or have gotten Kanye West on certain ballots to try and thwart Biden, which is really funny to me.
It's funny. Yeah. It's terrifying that we've gotten here.
Yeah, it is. The thing is, I don't know if this would even is this even gonna work? I don't think so.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we
Yeah.
came to the conclusion that it probably wasn't really going to affect much. If it does, I will laugh my ass off, though. That's funny.
It's hard to say, to be honest with you, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what's going to happen. I have my hopes and I have my wishes, but, it's kind of a rock and a hard place at this point. But I will say the concept of Kanye West, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump on a stage on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or wherever you watch your news, the concept of those three people, if you showed that image to me in 2006 as I was listening to Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, I, on God, would have thought you were fucking nuts. Mental. Even if you told me 2014 when Obama was like, his term was coming to end, and you told me that it was going to be Kanye, Donald, Jonathan Trump, and Joseph Biden running, I would be terrified. I'd be like, you're lying to me. You have done it. I think so.
I can one up you though. Instead of imagining them on the CNN stage, imagine them in a Zoom call debating.
That makes it. Oh my God, you brought me back around to it now.
God damn.
No, because I guarantee Kanye would get on the stage and his first one of their gaffes. I guarantee you would either be Trump. It's like they're all fucking. Two of them are dementia ridden, and then there's Kanye, but one of them would go for a handshake, and that's one. And it's like, bro, do you not? That's kind of like how W. There's a clip of W when he Stevie Wonder was at the White House for something, I think, and W like waved at Stevie Wonder even though he's blind. Have you seen that clip?
It's hilarious. No,
oh my
it's
God.
amazing.
We are run by it's that old saying, in the valley of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's like it's really just bottom of the barrel now. So yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
Well. And more uplifting news. And by that I mean really not uplifting. Takeoff, prominent member of Migos, has been sued over alleged rape. Oh boy.
That's wow.
I guess I won't say anything on whether or not, like, we don't really know if it's like conclusive or anything, but the allegations seem pretty substantial, so
Jesus Christ.
we will see where this goes.
God.
But
is Takeoff one of the Migo that's married? I don't know much about this group, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I didn't know any of the Migos were married.
I know. I think one of them's married. I don't remember.
We're not big. Is it Offset? Because Offset is like
That seems
Offset's
like
a dad, so
that would make sense.
Whoa.
Yeah, because he has an album called Father of Four or Father of All. No, Father of Four.
No, is it Father of Four?
Yeah. Wait.
I think it's just Father. Oh no, it is Father of Four. Okay.
Yeah.
But regardless.
He might not be married, but that's like maybe, you know.
It's awful. It's awful, and I don't even really want to make jokes about I don't want to make jokes anywhere near this because that's just terrible, and especially it's terrible. And if it's true, it's even worse. Like it's awful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, rape is bad.
Oh wow, hot take, Brendan.
Yeah.
What
is this?
Is that
This is some pretty controversial stuff.
You sure you guys want to come down on that side of the line on this one? Oof.
Yeah, we'll take our chances, you know.
I respect that about you guys.
Small audience that we have, so.
I respect that about you guys.
Wow, thank you. All right. Next is an update to the Killers. I think last week we talked about the Killers were investigating sexual misconduct allegations against their touring crew from like 2007 or something, 2009 maybe. This is an update to that they were unable to find any corroboration for these claims, but they're still like, basically they really, if someone has information about it, they really want them to come forward. They've also stated that they're going to be taking efforts to make sure that people have, like, if they feel really uncomfortable or anything, they have a way to get out, you know? So good on the Killers.
Yeah.
Good job.
In a world and in a month and in a year where it seems like every band, and especially for some reason, in the alternative rock scene, every band that you love is getting accused of something and being outed, and rightfully so, and pretty much every case, rightfully outed. It's just almost seems like an abnormality that a band like the Killers would be decent humans, you know? It's crazy.
Damn.
And I don't mean that in a mean way. Like, there are a lot of bands that have been accused that I love their music and I'm so attached to their albums and I think they're great. But then, like, this concept that in this year, this awful, awful year, a band isn't doing the worst thing they could possibly be doing, it's just weird. Like, it didn't sound real when you said it to me.
Well, I mean, you gotta. I don't know if you're always like hearing negative stuff.
Yeah,
You kind of gotta like try your best to balance it.
for sure.
We got next we got an update to Trapt.
Trapt's my
Who
favorite band. Their new
I-
album is at least a 10.
I kind of love Trapt, even though they're awful.
Oh, you mean
People-
Headstrong? I was like, who?
Yes.
Oh, you mean Headstrong?
Yeah, the guys who did Headstrong.
Yo, that song, I'm not gonna lie, that song kind of goes off.
No, yeah.
So
that
anyway.
definitely goes off.
That's new. That's that new metal shit, bro.
Yeah. Was it a few weeks ago we talked about how it turns out Trapt are like like super hard Trump supporters and really shitty people.
Oh no.
And kind of racist.
Oh no. Not the songsters that created Headstrong.
But it's just there's an article that amused me. An article.
He's that distraught.
Dude. End the podcast now. I'm gonna go cry for 2
No,
days.
That was so good. It was good.
We'll film this on Wednesday. I'm not doing this right now.
God damn. I know, it's hard to accept that Trapt, the band that made Headstrong, aren't very good people.
Dude.
But basically, I just found this amusing because basically Trapt played a concert. Was it a Buffalo Chip concert, which I think is like a festival thing.
Okay, got it. Sorry. I thought
Where-
you meant like a spicy buffalo
Yeah.
potato chip concert, and I was like,
No.
seems like they sort of backed themselves into a corner on that one.
I'll read straight from the article. If you're unfamiliar, the Buffalo Chip is like a Trump rally on steroids.
Oh,
For 10 days each summer, hundreds of thousands of bikers pack into a sprawling 600-acre campground in Sturgis, South Dakota. There, they can partake in activities such as the Air Sex World Championship, a fake orgasm contest, midget bowling, roller derby. There's like a normal one,
dude.
a beer belly contest, and a cherry pie eating championship. In the evening, an array of music's finest acts take the stage.
That could not be a more new metal gathering if Slipknot came out and had an orgy on stage. It couldn't be more new metal. So hold on. A bunch of bikers get together and pretend to orgasm on stage. That's the
that's
bunch of
like one
bikers.
of the things.
That's
it's
mortifying.
Go.
We should. You guys should do one of these on the road.
Oh
in
my
South
god.
Dakota. Interview Headstrong. Trapt, sorry. I called them Headstrong. That's how little they mean to me. Interview Trapt.
Oh man. Anyway, there's a picture taken of Trapt where like 5 people were in front of them playing.
Oh my god.
They claim and they're like, no, that's bullshit. Look at this, a big crowd, which isn't really that big if you look at the photo. It really isn't that big, but I just find it really amusing because Trapt is like, I don't know what's the word for it. Whiny. That's what they come off as. Very whiny. It's really entertaining.
Yeah.
because it's just like this random new metal band that you only know one song from.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of all of their hit song.
Yeah.
Such a far fall from grace, you know? MTV
Yeah.
versus ATX on the PS2, and now, I don't know, they get to perform next to a bunch of bikers pretending to make each other come.
Yeah. Pretty entertaining. I should also mention, what is it? Shoot, what was that thing? There was one thing. Was it? So the last time we talked about them, they basically predicted that their album that they're going to release was like gonna be a top 5 album, maybe of all time.
Trapt. We're still talking about
Yes.
Trapt here.
Yeah.
We haven't like ghost shifted over to like Gnarls Barkley. We're still talking about Trapt.
Yeah.
Got it.
Trapt.
Got it. Yep.
And then it sold like 500 copies in the first week. Or no, it wasn't 500. It was like 2,000.
Wow.
Which for
Still not a
comparison, yeah, no,
Mhm.
for comparison, like the same week, Five Finger Death Punch, whose album released, I think the Trapt album released sometime in July, and the Five Finger Death Punch album released in like February. The Five Finger Death Punch album sold like 5,000 copies the same week.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Slow week for new metal.
All right. Next, I guess finally in music news, Google Play is shutting down in December. I don't know anyone who uses Google Play, or well, Google Play Music, I should say, not Google Play, because that's like the App Store. But
Yeah, I mean, like, I know one person who uses Google Play Music.
I do know, this was brought up on like a Reddit thread or something, and every single comment I saw were people just being like, or well, so Google essentially is moving to YouTube Music, and they're pushing that, and every single comment in the Reddit thread was like, I fuck YouTube Music, it's terrible, I'm gonna go to Spotify now.
Oh no.
So I don't know if this doesn't seem to be
Yeah,
a great
YouTube
sign unless they
Music's
make significant improvements.
not ideal. If you're looking for like a streaming service, it gets the job done, but it's just YouTube with like a different UI, really.
I feel like you can just use like Spotify,
Yeah.
and I think Spotify's far better.
Hmm.
Outside of like the problems of Spotify sometimes just refusing to work, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, that does it for music news. We got movie news now. Disney Plus. Remember there were reports that Disney Plus wasn't doing well. That's no longer the case. Disney Plus passed 60.5 million subscribers and reached their 5-year streaming goal in the first 8 months, which is probably due to coronavirus.
It's all that. It's all that.
He's trying.
Oh, he's yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I cut out when I started talking about how all that money came from Ratatouille.
That's true.
I tell ya, cut out right in the middle of
Just
my most
movies
important
is, like, a
sentence.
big draw.
Yeah.
Or wait,
No,
what?
it's true. It's not Disney Pixar movies at large, Brendan. It's really just Ratatouille, you know?
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, like, absolutely. I think we're ignoring the real standout though, which is Cars 2. You know?
Oh God!
Mhm.
Don't even get me started.
Do you know the movie where the disabled people are the villains? Because that's
Oh my
what
God.
Cars 2 is.
Is that real? Is that
Yes,
real?
that's actually what
Oh
Cars 2.
no!
Those are the films of Cars 2 are disabled people who are
Oh
like fed
no!
up that society is basically like fuck them over.
Dude.
But it's not
What
even.
were they thinking with that movie? Because every time I hear a story about it, it gets worse. Why did they make that movie?
I don't know. It's like it's weird because like most Pixar movies, like even if it's not that good, it's like there's like parts of it where you're like, this movie wasn't very good, but like this aspect of it I can appreciate. Like I don't know,
Sure.
The Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's like who cares? But like the animation's still really nice.
Yeah.
Some nice environments, but then you have Cars 2 and it's just like I like what? Like what? Um but yeah, Disney Plus doing good.
Yeah.
Good job, Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, thank God. It's
The-
not a monopoly, guys. Don't worry.
it will be fine.
We'll be fine.
I
I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have Disney Plus because I do, but still.
I mean like the thing with Disney Plus is like it's very specific.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if you're like a family, it's fantastic
yeah.
because there's so many like Disney movies that you can put on for your kid so they shut up for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I will say for like just like as a streaming service, it is limited because you kind of just have Disney, and once you get through the Disney movies you want to watch, there's like nothing else.
Yeah. It's tough because it's broad and it's only going to get broader because Disney's only getting bigger and they've now consumed Fox and they have Marvel and they have the Simpsons are on there, which is fucking weird, which ties into Fox and stuff, but that's weird.
Yeah, Simmons being on there seems like a Hulu thing, but
Uh,
like
just weird because like I'm scrolling through and it's like, hey, do you want to watch Alice in Wonderland again? And I was like, no. It's like, all right, do you want to watch Ratatouille again? And I'm like, no. And it's like, do you want to see Homer and his funny little son? And I'm like, not really. It's just weird.
but Bart pretty funny though.
Oh, Bart is funny, but it's not the point. This is a weird place to put it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, next, there's a new Charlie Kaufman movie coming to Netflix, and I'm really excited for it. They released a trailer for it on YouTube. The movie's called "I'm Thinking of Ending Things," and it looks to be like a psychological horror movie. And I'm really excited for it.
Can't say I'm familiar with most of his work, and I apologize for that.
He wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, that movie kicks ass. Okay, I'm in.
And what? Let's see. He also wrote Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, and then he directed Synecdoche, New York, and most recently Anomalisa. So
I'm pretty in. I mean, that's a pretty cool resume.
yeah, some some very good movies in there.
Eternal Sunshine is a phenomenal movie.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I'm really pumped. It looks kind of like Lynchian, I guess, in some ways. So I'm pretty excited for it. And then finally, in movie news, Bill and Ted, the third Bill and Ted movie, it's coming to VOD, like August 28th or something.
And weren't we all excited for that?
Yeah, man, it's
I
Bill
am
and
kind of.
Ted. I'm actually somewhat
Are you?
excited,
I enjoy
but like
the other two Bill and Ted movies. They're fun movies.
Okay.
I would really love to watch the first two Bill and Ted movies, but I don't think they're on like any streaming service that I have. So
They're on Hulu, I'm pretty sure.
were they?
I'll watch them again, but it kind of I haven't actually watched them. I'll watch them, but it's a situation that it's like Keanu Reeves has evolved in such a way that when I look at him, I don't see, yeah, that guy can star in can't, because he can do whatever he wants because he's Keanu. But I don't see him and go, yeah, that guy is from Bill and Ted, you know? I see him and I go, that's John Wick.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You know, I see him and I'm like, oh, that's, Neo from the Matrix. He just took off his cool little coat, you know? I don't know. The man has range. You give him that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's everything for news this week. So,
Gawk.
Gawk. We're starting with Gawk. You want to start with Gawk?
yeah.
All right.
So we listened to Gawk by Vundabar this week. Kobe, do you want to? I assume this was your choice. So do you want
Yes.
to introduce the album?
Sure. So, with what limited information I know about Vundabar, I was shown Vundabar. I'll start there. I was shown Vundabar a couple years ago by a friend of mine, and it's. I don't even really know what genre they would fit into, to be honest with you.
They're indie rock.
They're
not like straight indie rock, but they definitely slot into indie rock pretty well.
They're indie rock, but they have a very heavy focus on like instrumentation over pure like vocal talent. Like you're not going to get bangers and bops in terms of how the voice sounds out of this album. But Vundabar, yes. Are we pronouncing it Vundabar or Vundabar? Just so I know for future. Because I think it's based off the German word for wonderful. We're gonna get this settled. You want to do Vundabar?
Vundabar is good.
I think that's the most correct.
Also, later when we get to Loving Vincent, we're gonna do the American version of Vincent Van Gogh. Is that okay?
I was going to ask you that. We're doing Van Gogh, not Van Gogh.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. We're doing.
Down.
Cool. So, yeah. So it is a rock album. It times in. It clocks it at a cool 34 minutes. This listen that we did recently was my second or third time through the album only. I have a couple of the singles off of the album on my playlist, and I listen to it every now and again. And yeah, when I first was turned on to them, and they were like, "Hey, do you like this?" And I was like, "Nope." And then we stopped listening to them. But I came back around on them, and yeah, I wanted to pick this album because I thought it offered a lot of room for opinions, because it can be very there are points in it where you can diverge on your opinion and stuff, and I don't know, I just thought it was a really cool ask, and I knew that if I picked an album that I thought was very close and near and dear to my heart, I would leave this podcast crying. So I picked an album that I thought was cool, and I figured we'd talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good job, Kobe.
Thanks,
Yeah.
bud. I gotta.
What's an album that's very near and dear to your heart?
I'm not gonna tell you, but I was talking to Brendan the other day, and he was like,
I can send it to you later, Joe.
No,
Okay.
no.
Oh, wait, yeah,
I have several albums that I'm rather fond of.
Is it an anime OST?
Oh God, no. It's I'm very glad that I've evolved in serious. I'm very glad that I've evolved past an age where I have guilty pleasure music. Like if you don't like an album that I love, it's like, oh, whatever, sure, not a big deal to me. But I think I can pick this album because I can talk about it objectively. There is subjectivity in it because I'm like, I like this, and maybe Brendan or Joe, you don't like that, but I can talk about this subjectively because it isn't one of my favorite albums. It isn't even my favorite album in the genre, stuff like that. But I was talking to Brendan the other day, and he goes, "Hey, if you picked the other album we were going to go to, which I don't, is there an issue with me naming it? Does it matter?"
You can say it, yeah. Shut him out.
So, we were going to talk about the delightful, in my opinion, Rit Momney project. Her and All of My Friends, that I am a very big fan of. It is my favorite bedroom pop album. I was thinking about that. I was juggling between the two, and then Brendan was like, "Which do you care less about if we just beat the shit out of it?" And I said, "Let's do Vundabar." And he goes, "All right." So yeah, this was almost Rit Momney, and yeah, I almost got into a very, very big fight over Rit Momney, and I'm not going to do that tonight. So yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
I suspect some of us would not have been big fans of Rit Momney.
I heard someone say that they thought they were boring, and I was like, you know what? Fine, that's fair. That's fair. No, it's fine. We're not going to get into a huge diatribe about Rit Momney and stuff, but it's a situation that I love him. I think the lyrics he writes are beautiful. I think the instrumentation is really kind of calming and sweet. I almost went to see him last year with my friend. The tickets were only $12. We didn't go because we were very tired, and I did not want to drive all the way down on the highway. It would have been about 30 minutes to get there, and I did not want to do that. But that's not the point.
Pussy. Sorry.
All right, bud. It was $12.
Yeah, dude, I go to concerts for $12 all the time. They're great.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, but it was a situation that I didn't want to drive that far, and we were both very tired.
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, what I mean to say is, to lead in, and this will be the last word I say about anything not related to Gawk for right now, but I have aged past a time where I have albums that if you don't like, I will be very sad about. For instance, my favorite album right now, and it was the first vinyl I even thought about buying for my new record player. The first album that comes to mind when you say favorite album is the album Pretty Odd by Panic at the Disco. And if you don't like that, that's fair. Not for everyone, but it's mine.
Yeah. Oh, there's some fan base. Anyways, back to Vundabar with I wanna start out this little discussion by saying there are some really great songs on this album.
Yes.
By far my favorite is Alien Blues, which is
I'm so glad you said that.
the most popular song off this album, I believe, and probably the most popular Vundabar song. No, Holy Toledo looks like. Looking at their Spotify page at least. But there are quite a few highlight tracks, I think. Like I said, Alien Blues, the ending, Smile Boyo, and the intro Chop as well, I want to shout out. These are all tracks where I think, like you said, Vundabar focuses on the instrumentation. I think the guitar work really does shine through on these tracks.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all your
comments
okay
about that, Joe?
Oh, well, I was just gonna wait for you to finish your thought, and I was he has more to say, right? And then you just stopped.
I thought my internet cut out for a second, to be honest.
But yeah, I really enjoy a lot of the guitar work on this album. I think that the biggest strength of this album, or when for me this album works the best, is when it's kind of contrasting this really like groovy, catchy guitar work with these really like almost sugary sweet vocals on a lot of the tracks. That for me works really well. I know songs like Chopped. I also really like Ooh La La, and like I don't know, Alien Blues, and also Bust. But yeah.
I totally agree with everything you guys said. You actually I never would have even thought about the contrast of like when he goes up in that higher octave range, and it is very sweet. You guys pretty much touched on most of the stuff production wise. I had the vocals can be kind of I described them as screechy, but it never really gets to a point that it gets tedious or annoying, and it actually offsets with the way the songs are out. The way the songs are kind of put together in this really homemade way, it kind of adds to it, in my opinion. Songs I wanted to shout out the lyricism, especially because a lot of it is just really, really interesting stuff. The lyrics on Ooh La La, especially, which is probably one of my favorite hits. You guys already talked about all the songs I loved. Ooh La La, Alien Blues was probably my favorite on the album. I really liked Ash in the Sun. I thought the lyrics there were really great. The heavy guitar makes you really feel the weight in your chest. Like you kind of feel like you're drowning with some of these songs in a great way, as weird as that is to say out loud. Warn/Wander is my favorite on the album, though, to be totally frank. And Smile Boyo is the perfect summation of all of it because it gets the themes out real well of adolescence and finding yourself and all that. Yeah, I thought it was great. If you're in the mood for an album that is pretty interesting to kind of ponder on the lyrics, and also you get a couple really, really amazing guitar riffs, this is probably the one for you. There are points where the guitar riffs really just kind of make you feel like you're, in a weird way, you kind of feel like you're just melting into the album. Like you don't really remember what song you're on. You don't know where you are on the track list. And that could be a symptom of several things. But for me, it's just how mesmerizing this album gets at certain points. And it's all of it working together in tandem to make this album what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on some of your points, I guess. For me,
I'm leaving, so that's over.
Okay.
All right,
For me,
great.
the stretch
That went over well.
Dissenting opinion detected. Will proceed to leave area.
Yeah, it's over.
As I was saying, for me, the stretch from Ash in the Sun to Desert Ditty, those 4 tracks there, I'm not the biggest fan of. They're for me, those 4 tracks, they present interesting ideas, at least on the first 3. For me, Desert Ditty is probably the worst song on the album.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree totally.
agree too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think there's nothing that brings me back to that track. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, I think the outro on that track is pretty decent, but like the first, like pretty much all the verses on that track are just really slow, and to me don't really play to the band's strengths.
I agree.
It feels like there's kind of just nothing going on until you get to the chorus, which I do think is actually pretty alright, pretty enjoyable. But like it's just you kind of have to go through the verses, just aren't interesting to me.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I will say that I disagree with you, Brendan, on Bust specifically. I really like the power of the song, and how again the like super heavy riffs on that song contrast with the vocals. I will say one of my bigger problems with the album is the mixing of the vocals. They're kind of just an element in the background a lot of the time, and I think that brings the album down. I think they really need to be a lot more present on a lot of the songs, because I think it's their like contrast with the guitars and everything. I think really makes the album, and I think sometimes when they're not present, it just feels awkward with them in the background.
Yeah. To bounce actually off what you said, the biggest thing about this, when I first was turned on to Vundabar, the first thing that kind of struck out to me, and basically the first major comment I had of any sort of substance, was it kind of sounds on certain points like he's across the room shouting the lyrics at the microphone. And there are certain points where that works, where it's like, hey, the main focus here, and I actually said I had to look up the lyrics on Genius to really kind of know what the hell he was talking about at certain points. It really does do well when it kind of feels like the guitars are front and center, and it's almost like that's a front line, and the lyrics are kind of being shouted on a separate line back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think to tie back into all of us kind of really just curb stomping Desert Ditty, the main reason why Desert Ditty doesn't work, in my opinion, is it's slower, okay? It's quieter, which isn't inherently bad, but the lyrics are kind of all over the place and weird. His voice, I don't know, I'm not going to lie, I don't know the lead singer of Vundabar's name. I apologize. He's a very talented guy. Everyone involved in this project is very talented, but the lead singer of Vundabar, his voice doesn't do enough for me to warrant this sort of slow song, and it's the longest song. Like every song on this track is on the track list is like what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. The longest one outside of Desert Ditty, like Desert Ditty is the longest at 5:26. Ooh La La is 4:25, a whole minute shorter, and 2 minutes of Desert Ditty are at the end where it's that weird guitar outro, and it's cool and it's nice, but it's like this kind of overstays its welcome. You know what I mean? Like it's just a weird track to put these. What I mean is the style doesn't work for it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I will also say that feels the way specifically the end of the album is structured is kind of weird to me, because Desert Ditty feels like a closer to me.
Yeah.
Whereas on the actual album, Smile Boyo is the closer. Which I do enjoy Smile Boyo, but it does feel it feels kind of weird to have Desert Ditty in this like big climactic end to Desert Ditty, and then you just have another track.
Yeah.
And I definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough too, because Desert Ditty, like I said, Desert Ditty comes after my favorite song on the album, one of my favorite songs for sure, which is Worn Wander. And Worn Wander is a really in your face sort of like it's the ultimate song off this album. It's like it encapsulates everything I love about this album. The lyrics are really interesting. It's very poetic in its lyricism. The production is very heavy. it really feels homemade. You can feel the work that went into this because you can hear all the loose ends on it. You know what I mean? It has a very early I don't mean to compare them to these guys because it's not fair. It has a very early Nirvana feel to it in the sense that you can really see the production in it. You know what I mean? Like you can feel the rough edges, and that's great about it. And then after that, it's like a screeching halt, and all of a sudden, we get Desert Ditty, which is just, I don't mean to just keep, crap talking Desert Ditty, because I feel bad that all three of us have now devoted what feels like an eternity just talking shit about Desert Ditty, but
Well, the eternity was too much, apparently.
And I literally looked at my phone. I looked at my phone and I'm like, is that it? And it's Smile Boyo. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Smile Boyo. And Smile Boyo is great. So it's sandwiched in a weird place,
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we going to touch upon the original album cover at all?
Yeah, I noticed there are 2 album covers. So
Did you see the one that isn't good? Did you see that one?
Yeah, the original one, yeah.
I don't know how much there is to say about it, but I did think it right, and I thought it was important that we did mention that and kind of thank whoever the creative heads were over at Vundabar that said, you know what, let's not do the kind of really racist one,
Yeah.
Seems like a good idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should really take our hats off to whatever creative genius said, "Hey, we should probably not put a racist caricature on the front of our indie kind of sort of."
Yeah. If you wanna, you can look up the original Gawk cover on your own to see what we're talking about. It's
not good. We're gonna put a warning here. It's racist. We're not gonna lie. It's racist. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what it is. So if you want to take a look at it, just be warned. It's not good. It's not. It's just not. I'm thankful they went with the new one. I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah, I think if I will say one more, if there is one thing that I do want to take away from this album, and I don't know how you guys close ranks here in terms of like, hey, and now we're going to talk about loving Vincent van Gogh, but situationally speaking, I will say that I think the best the best part of this album, the thing that it has going for it the most, and I know I keep saying this, the guitars are great, the production's amazing, it feels really cool, and it feels homemade, and it feels like really kind of grimy in that sense, but the best thing about it is, in my opinion, the lyrics and the theming of it all. You know what I mean? I think the theming is kind of arranged, but I think the fact that it talks about, adolescence and lonerism and sticking out, and also isn't afraid to talk about drug abuse and depression and kind of sinking into a hole, and it all kind of ties into this overall concept that you kind of melt into the sound of this album at certain points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. Are we ready to conclude?
We're good to wrap up? Sure.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'll start. So yeah, I really enjoyed this album. I think there's a lot of highlights on it. It has, again, a great the way they're able to contrast, again, the groovy guitars and bass with the vocals, I think is really great. I will say that I think sometimes the mixing of the vocals gets in the way of my enjoyment, and I feel like sometimes they kind of don't focus on what their strengths are on this album. But I still enjoy it quite a bit. For me, I had to give this album like a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's really enjoyable. Would recommend. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, yeah, like you said, there's definitely some highlights on this album. Some cool guitar work, some nice contrast between the guitars and the vocals at times. And there's other times where I think all these songs just fall flat. But overall, it's still pretty good. I'm at like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great points made throughout, and I think I'm really we're hitting on the same sort of notes here in terms of this album. I think I really liked it. There are standouts on this album that I would say, hey, you absolutely should listen to these, and I really do think you should listen to the album at least once. It's only 34 minutes. It will not take up much of your time. You could have that right in the morning. You could have that right before you go to bed. I absolutely recommend you listen to this album at least once. I think it's great, especially if you're into that scene. The production and everything about it, from the guitars to the riffs to the lyricism, are very good. There are spots where it kind of feels gratuitous, and there are spots where it kind of gets a little boring. And I would not say that I would turn this album on, like just in general to kind of cheer me up on a bad day, but I will say I do like going back to a couple of the songs on this album every now and again. I think, a little bit more positive on it than you guys are, so I will give it an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Well, I guess that means we're moving to. I was trying to rhyme there, but I can't rhyme that.
No, go ahead. We'll give you time. We're not going to keep going until you rhyme.
Move. We're.
Mhm.
No, that doesn't rhyme either.
Yeah, it's hard being a podcaster, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a really difficult.
What do you do when you go camping, Joe?
Probably live a tent.
A tent,
Mhm.
and we're reviewing.
Loving Vincent.
Oh,
Okay,
that was
we got
all
it.
right.
That's sort of whoa.
That was a stretch. You can
Right.
edit out the 45 minutes we sat here.
Nope.
All right.
Yeah. We're gonna be talking about the movie Loving Vincent's. Kobe, do you also want to introduce this movie?
I'd be delighted to. Loving Vincent is the first ever fully hand-painted animated feature film. And I do want to say, before we get into anything else, before I keep going with this introduction, I want to say from the very start, we need to take a moment and just appreciate that they hand-painted an hour and a half long feature film. I think I saw a tidbit somewhere where it's like 65,000 frames hand painted at least. It might be more. I might have missed a zero in there. Crazy amount of painting. So I do want to say right off the very start, it was a team of over 100 artists. Amazing stuff. Right off the very bat, even if you didn't love the movie, and we will get into that if you didn't, from a technical aspect, the fact that they hand painted this whole thing and it moves and it breathes and it's a functioning gosh darn movie, and it was nominated for Best Animated Feature-Length Film in 2018. Amazing stuff. Loving Vincent, I became aware of this movie when I started looking more into Vincent Van Gogh, because we're not calling him Vincent Van Gogh, I've been told. I started looking more into Vincent Van Gogh as a character and as a human, and I thought he was a really interesting guy. Looking into his paintings more. I've never really been big into art, but I've always thought Vincent Van Gogh was an interesting character, and I became aware of this movie when it came out. I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I don't think I'll go see it, and I watched it middle of quarantine for the first time, and it's only an hour and a half, and it's tragically sad, but it's also extremely uplifting and life-affirming, and it's super, super... You can kind of see which piece of media that I brought that I'm more excited to talk about and have more to say about. But it's a great film. It's lovely. And I'm really, really glad we get to talk about it. And yeah, this is Loving Vincent, the first fully painted animated feature film.
All right.
Wow.
So a little bit about the plot, I guess. So the film starts a year after Vincent Van Gogh's death. This dude, Armand Roulin, who is an actual person, has to deliver a letter that Vincent wrote before his death to his brother Theo. He goes to Paris, find out Theo's dead, and then tries to find the right person while also uncovering this mystery around Vincent Van Gogh's death. And he meets a colorful cast of characters. And
Literally.
We're doing it, guys. Oh, come on now, guys. Let's keep it in our pants. All right now, guys.
Listen, I had to. Okay. What do I want to say about this movie? Uh, I appreciate this movie for doing
Oh
something
God.
different.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of time and money and effort that had to be put into this movie to create it is incredible, and I certainly appreciate that. I'm just gonna come right out and say it.
Oh God.
I don't love the visual style, however.
Okay.
Um,
Oh,
Okay.
it does not resonate with me. I think it just ends up making a lot of things look muddy and choppy, and I'm not the biggest fan. So, I'm
okay.
sorry.
I disagree a lot.
I know
I
probably a
think the
lot of people will
visuals.
disagree a lot with that take. So,
I think the
You said that,
visuals
yeah.
in this movie are, for the most part, pretty breathtaking. I will say I
Absolutely.
don't enjoy the flashback scenes very much because they're completely black and white, and I think that
Mm.
limits the color that is used and ultimately makes things kind of just look like a weird black and white movie. Points, but when it is in color, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. The just outside of the insane amount of work that was done, it to me it does such a good job of recreating this oil painted style that Vincent Van Gogh had, um, and turning it into an animated movie. And I think that is easily the strongest aspect for me.
Yeah. I 1000% agree. And I, not to beat a dead horse, not to say the same things over and over again, but we really, really do need to take a second here. And regardless of whether or not you love the style, Brendan said it. He doesn't love the artistic style, and that's fair. It's not right, but it's fair. But the fact, sorry, the fact that over 100 artists got together and painted this thing, and it really can't be overstated. Joe hit it right on the head. It can't be overstated. There are literally moments, and I've never been fully able to describe the word breathtaking until I watched this movie the first time. And there's the first shot, literally the first shot in the movie, where the camera pans down over Starry Night, and you see the tree, and you see the stars, and you see them literally moving in the sky, and it zooms in past the tree. Literally, there was a hitch in my throat, and I sat there, and tears welled up in my eyes, and I'm not being melodramatic here. I sat there, and I was like, holy God. And it's amazing. And I agree with you to a certain extent, Joe, that this movie does get sort of muddled in the black and white flashbacks. Exactly. However, I will say I do want to point out one. I want to point out two actually flashbacks. Real quick, the bar flashback where he's rapidly painting the men at the other side of the bar when they're visiting the guy who sold Van Gogh his paints, and they're
Yeah.
talking about, and there's smoke. There's literally smoke in Van Gogh's eyes, but you can see the intensity in these eyes, and he's looking across the bar room, and he's just painting these guys, and he's drawing them, and everything happens so quick, and everyone's talking, but it still feels like animated and stuff. I literally just wrote the bar flashback is amazing, and there is one shot towards the end where are we pronouncing Teo or Theo, by the way, because he's Dutch.
Theo, we'll say
Theo.
Theo.
We're going to be really American
We'll
here,
be
boys.
very
we are
American.
We'll be
so
very American here.
dude.
So Theo, towards the end of the movie, Theo visits Vincent in the last couple days of his life, and there's a shot where Theo is looking out the window, and there's the sunlight, which is all in white because it's a flashback scene, hits him in the face, and you can see his shadow, and you can just see Vincent in the back, and it looks like a fresco. It's amazingly done. It's all beautiful, and this isn't even. We'll get into the inners and outers of what about this movie worked sequentially, plot wise, all this sort of stuff. But just from a pure design aspect, it's gorgeous, beautiful. I will say sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming to look at all this stuff all at once because everything's moving and it's all moving pieces and stuff. So it kind of can cause a headache and can overwhelm you. But that's literally the only complaint I have, and that kind of settles in your stomach after the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's so. Like, Brendan, I don't want it. You have the right to your opinion, and if it's not your style, it's not your style. But oh my God, this movie is so pretty to me. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I big agree
Mm-hmm.
is really gorgeous. I think for me, I think my favorite sequence is specifically when the main character's Theo, right? Um,
The main
Armand.
character,
Or like
Armand
the
Lin is the main
Armand,
character.
Armand
his boy,
Rodin. I don't remember. He's French.
Rulin, or is it
Oh no, you're right. It's Roulon. It's Roulon.
Rulon?
We're Americans.
Um,
It's rolling.
It's Roland.
um, but when specifically when he's in the paint shop and he's talking to the guy or the paint supplier, that for me is not the flashback, but when he's talking to him, I love the colors in the scene,
Mhm.
and how everything like contrasts and works with each other. And yeah, again, I think the visuals for me are definitely the strongest aspect.
Brendan, you have anything to say? You're the one with the dissenting opinion in this group, so I'll let you go first.
I realize it's not like I don't know. It's just the style for me is not appealing. I guess there are paintings. One, I'm not like the biggest fan of Van Gogh's style in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, then you would hate this movie.
I don't hate this movie. I definitely like. I'm just not in love with it. Is the thing at the end of the day. Like.
Yeah.
I think I definitely can see why this would look incredible to most people, but for me, I'm just not. Because the central conceit of this movie is its visual style. This movie lives and dies on its visual style. Because let's be honest here, the plot, I like the plot. Gonna be honest, because it's like Armand is going through his journey of self-discovery as he's discovering, Vincent Van Gogh's life. But it's kind of short-lived. You don't really get attached to really any of the characters, I feel. But it's interesting. I like how it plays in. But the visuals for me just not my cup of tea. It's just I can't say like why they're wrong. It's just my personal feelings.
Well, I obviously don't agree with the visual styles thing.
That's fair. I
but
don't think many people will agree with me.
But
I understand that.
But the difference is you've said multiple times you appreciate the work of the artist, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it several times throughout this discussion. I intend to say it every time I can think it's appropriate to say it. The amount of work that went into this movie is dumb. Animation is hard. That's obvious. Animation is hard no matter what. Animation is hard no matter who's doing it. It doesn't matter how long the film is. It can be extremely difficult no matter what, and it's always hard. The fact that they hand painted it and then I think they rotoscoped it. It's amazing. It's phenomenally good. I don't even fully know how they did it. It's dumb. It kind of, I'm not going to lie, it hurts my feelings that I'll never be able to achieve something technically as masterful as they did here. It's beautiful. But I think if I wanted to go into cons of this movie, I will say the plot did leave much to the imagination. I happen to like Armand Roulant, but I won't sit here and say that he was, compelling to the nth degree. I don't think he was. I think his dad was cool. Saoirse Ronan's in this movie. That's cool. Cool. It's hard because you're, to a certain extent, you are absolutely 100% correct. If you don't like the visual style of this movie, there's not a crap ton going for it. I mean, I think the message is cool. I think Van Gogh is a really cool character. The investigation process is kind of interesting if you like this sort of thing. But the biggest thing this movie has going against it, I should say, the biggest thing this movie has going, working against it and keeping it from getting over a certain precipice is it does fall flat plot-wise. And it's hard because you kind of want it to be more than it is, and you want there to be this big revelation, and you want him to you kind of want, after all the time spent in a kind of basically a police procedural, You really want Armand Roulant to say, yeah, this guy did it. But at the end of the day, the movie's not trying to tell you who killed Van Gogh, whether it was himself or Rene Secretan. That's not the point, you know. And that's hard. That's a hard thing to grapple with, I think, if you're looking for a really conclusive end. But I think that kind of, in a really messed up way, if you're not a big fan of theming, you will not agree with me here. Not that's not really fair. If you're not a fan of what I mean to say is basically the fact that there isn't a conclusive killer found adds to this movie's thematic point, in that it's not about how you die, it's how you live. So it can get watery, it can get police procedural-esque. It kind of feels like LA Noire, if LA Noire was something you watched and not played. And also if the main character was a lot more likable. But like, it's just situationally, it can be tough to get through.
That was actually, I was going to bring this up, is that there are times with the plot, it feels like a video game.
It does.
Yes,
People
that
are
it
in
felt.
areas at certain times.
It's point A to B to C to D. I agree with you. I agree.
Like, yeah, definitely. Like, for me, I found most of the plot boring, maybe with the
That's fair.
exception of the final confrontation with
That
the
scene is
doctor
great.
guy. I think that scene is amazing. But then for me, the rest of the movie, as we said, it felt to me kind of like there's a point in the movie where it's like, this just feels like a Skyrim quest. Like, what? Like, you're kind of just going from point to point. And it never feels like, I guess there's this investigation going on, but it's not something that draws me in. Like, I feel like the way that they make it into this kind of murder mystery, I think takes away a lot from it. Like, personally, I would have much rather had it just be about like the last 6 weeks or something of Vincent Van Gogh's life. And I think that would have been a lot more interesting to just see it play out with the animation rather than have it just have like this, again, murder mystery plot where it's like he goes around and he tries to figure out who killed Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely some good scenes, I guess. Specifically the final confrontation with the doctor, where the guy is like, "Yo, I have all this evidence," and the doctor's like, "No, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
He fucking killed himself. He has like a mental illness, or he had a mental illness." And that scene is like definitely really depressing, and I think that's it's the best scene for me because it kind of takes somewhat the expectations that they build up, and they're just like, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
um it it feels, I think the scene also kind of has this kind of like almost overwhelming feeling to it, like depressive feeling to it, where it's kind of like it's basically, it's like finding out it's like there's no one to blame for like the bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just life. It kind of sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
um and, and that leads that scene to being very powerful, whereas the previous stuff where he's kind of just like he walking around, um it's just not very compelling, maybe with the exception also of the dream sequence, which is very
Yeah.
short, but I wish they did more with it. But it's very weird, and I think is I wish they did more with kind of like the surreal elements, I guess, of the movie, from that dream sequence, and I wish that was played with a bit more too.
I agree. I enjoy the dream sequence. I think that's pretty cool. But then it's just gone, and you never really get uh, any more of that style, I guess.
Yeah. I agree totally. I think it's harsh, and my opinion the first time coming out of this movie was, well, that's amazing, and it's amazing for a couple of reasons. The art style, again, the art style, but a large part. An interesting thing about this movie is that a question I had the first time I watched this movie was why, to Joe's point, why is this movie about an investigation into Van Gogh's death and not just about Van Gogh? And the conclusion I came to then, and it's kind of one that I still kind of stand by, and this isn't me saying, hey, you should enjoy watching.
We shouldn't, apparently.
We should enjoy watching.
It's unfortunate.
Damn, I can't
Lots of
watch movies
technical
anymore.
difficulties this
From
show.
Van Gogh.
Okay.
They're-
You were
You're gonna have to
cut out
repeat
during
that.
that.
Did I cut out a bunch? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I last say?
You don't want to be one of those guys who says you can't watch, and then
I didn't want to be sorry about that. You should leave that in. I didn't want to be one of those guys who's like, hey, you can't watch this movie and be bored by the parts that are just basically LA noir because, they did something different and it serves the purpose. But that's not what I'm trying to say, because I do feel absolutely what you're saying. But I think there are so many movies about Van Gogh from Van Gogh's perspective, but what's harsh is he's not here to tell the story. He never wrote a book. He never wrote down his life. He literally lives in his painting. And in this movie especially, his life, his perspective, everything about him, he wanted us to know through his paintings. Because his letters to Theo were letters to Theo. The fact that they're published posthumously, I don't think he would ever have an issue with, but I don't think it's a situation that he intended, So, functionally, this movie serves, it needs to be the way it is. Needs to. It is the way it is because you can say Van Gogh and if you want a movie about Van Gogh, watch At Eternity's Gate. It's great. You can watch that. You can watch Vincent and Theo. You can watch all these movies that have been made about Van Gogh because there really have been so many. But this movie takes perception. It's about what happens to an artist after they're gone. It's about a legacy and it's about life and death. And Van Gogh just happens to be the avatar who is currently living out that theme. Living being the operative term, of course. But I think it needs to be a place to place, and it needs to be an interview, and there needs to be a lot of different sides, and it needs to feel kind of like a Skyrim quest. Thematically, it makes sense to me because it's a movie about what we leave behind, and it's a movie about the fact that once, to tie it actually back into Gawk by Vundabar, you don't really get a say at how people remember you, so you might as well live life the way you want to. And I think that's kind of the point of the movie to an extent. You know what I mean?
I can definitely see that. I guess this is a very interesting take. I can definitely see where you're coming from. I just think that the way that it does it leads to a much weaker emotional impact.
Yeah.
I don't really feel connected to most of the characters in the movie, or even Vincent, really. Maybe again with the exception probably of the last scene.
Yeah.
Or not last scene, but the confrontation scene. But yeah.
I think Brendan, did you have something?
No, you're good. Go on.
I think it's I absolutely 1000% agree and see where you're coming from. That makes perfect sense. I think
He's something.
Yeah. Interesting opinions there from Cobert, but
kind of drab
Okay.
and boring.
Oh, he's
didn't
back.
have to say it.
Did I seriously do it again?
Yeah.
It's
I was
okay,
doing
though.
well. I was doing well throughout Vundabar.
You were.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was I saying? I don't want to sit here and say that this movie intentionally wrote really drab and kind of boring, and I don't want to say blasé, but uninteresting characters. But the fact that those characters exist in this movie furthers kind of the point that this movie isn't about individual people. It's about us getting together to form the legacy of Van Gogh. It's about the letters, yes, are a microcosm of this point, but it's about Van Gogh as really, it's, in my opinion, my obviously very humble opinion, it's about Van Gogh as someone who didn't know his place in the world, never saw success when he was alive, and really it's an anti-suicide film. It's a very...
It's a very...
Yeah. But I get what he's saying there, where it's like, yes, maybe Van Gogh
temporary
committed
problem.
suicide. Oh, sorry. He's back. He's back.
Did I really do it again?
Yeah.
That's 3 times in this rant.
It's
What I was going to say was it's an anti-suicide film. Not that there are any pro-suicide films, but
13
have you
Reasons
seen
Why
13 Reasons
begs to
Why?
differ. I mean, it's not a film, but
that's not a
Yeah.
film, and I wouldn't really consider that a consumable piece of media. But we're not going to get into that right now. But it's a movie about. Oh my god, I literally lost my train of thought because I cut out. It's a anti. It comes down on the side very firmly, and it's a cliche that suicide is the permanent solution to the temporary problem. To finally get to the end of my point, so I don't cut out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And that's not me sitting here and saying, like I said, that's not me sitting here and saying, oh, the movie has bad characters, and that's on purpose, because that's not true. I don't even think the characters are bad, but I don't think they're quite interesting a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's hard because it's a movie about Vincent van Gogh told from the eyes of people who aren't Vincent van Gogh. So there's not a lot of room for character development there. It's like, oh, who are you? Well, I'm this person. Okay, what are you doing here? I do this. All right, how'd you know Vincent? And then they go into their diatribe, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do we have much more to say about this movie?
Brendan, you want to go? Sorry, I just spoke for a long ass time.
I don't know. I think we've touched on most of the aspects of the movie. I would say that we're touching on. I guess I'll wrap up. For me personally, I definitely like some of the themes in this movie. There are some very powerful moments that it creates. However, like I said before, the visual style just does not resonate with me, which I like. Honestly, I wish it did, because like you said, you know, you call this movie breathtaking, and like that'd be cool, but I don't know. I'm just like, it's a painting. So yeah, overall I'm at a 6. Like, this movie is definitely not bad, but they're, for me, just not, doesn't hit, you know.
For me personally, I love the visuals. I think they're gorgeous. But I do think the plot gets very boring, with the exception of a couple scenes. I think it's just... I think it's unfortunate that the movie kind of... I feel the movie, I guess, doesn't explore Vincent van Gogh as well as it could have, because of the framing device of everything. I think it's worth watching for sure. But I also did admittedly find it kind of very boring at parts. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me.
So I appear to be alone on this hill. However, I agree pretty much exactly with what Joe said. I agree with a lot of what Brendan said. Hand painted. I want to say that again. Like, I know we've said it a bunch. Hand painted. Holy shit. Hand painted. I think it's beautiful. I think it's really sweet. I think it's tender in a lot of points. I think it makes you cry in a lot of points. I think it can feel aimless. It can feel like a police procedural. It feels a bit slow, even though it's only an hour and a half, which is weird, but it is beautiful, and it really kind of thematically hits for me, and the dialogue always feels on point, and the acting does enough for me. I don't know. I might be a bit optimistic, and I might be rose-colored glasses on this one, but I really, really have it at a 9 out of 10.
No, that's totally fair.
I did want to say real quick. I don't know what we're about to jump into, but I did want to say real quick. A major theme, and it's a philosophy that I heard recently, and I think it ties into this film great. And I do genuinely want to hear what you gentlemen have to say about it. Have you ever heard the philosophy or the concept that we human beings create as a subconscious desire to be immortal?
Yes,
I guess I haven't
have heard that. And
I haven't heard that before, but that's definitely, I understand that for sure. That comes up a lot in media.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and
I thought it gets to the point of this movie well.
why do you create, Kobe? Do you want to be immortal?
Well, I think people want to create to be understood, but I think there is genuinely a desire to create so that people know when you're not here what you stood for and who you are. Because no one wants to live and have it have been for nothing. You know what I mean? No one wants to live and have not contributed anything, or have not, moved mountains or changed the world like they promised us we could when we were little kids. But I think there is definitely a subconscious. Yeah, right, bud. You're right. You're right. You're very you're making waves, bud. But I think no, I'm serious. But I think it's a situation that there is always, from the beginning of time, life has sort of been defined for some people by how it ends. But I think there's also something to be said for, if you're judging a book by the last 5 pages of it and the first 5 pages, you didn't really read the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've never read a 10-page book, idiot.
Yeah, I'm fucking smooth braining it over here, Brendan.
Yeah.
I don't know what. You shouldn't invite me on this podcast ever again. I can't believe you invited
No,
me
you're
just for me
great,
to say
you're
that I have
great.
never read a 10-page.
We're about to wrap up here for today.
Yeah.
We will be having a guest
Oh,
next week, hopefully, and we have
yeah.
a album and movie from this guest. The album will be
Oh.
Toy Matinee by Toy Matinee, which came out in 1990, I believe, and the movie is Cold War, which came out in 2018.
Cold War. All right. Well,
Any closing statements from anybody before we wrap up?
not really. Actually, I just while uh while Kobe was talking about like the themes of the movie, I just remembered this movie. I just realized it shares a lot of very similar themes to Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa, which I would highly recommend. A lot of like themes of like figure of like finding purpose in life and stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna recommend Akira because it's a fantastic film.
Joe's
But
also
anyway,
an Akira Kurosawa fan. So.
I'm a big Kurosawa boy.
Some would say a simp, even.
I don't know if that's I mean,
No. It's fine, Joe. It's fine to simp over
Well,
Akira
Roll with his
Kurosawa.
toes.
It's
yeah,
fine.
but like he's dead, so like this is kind of weird.
It's gonna be kind of hard for him to open. I'm gonna open an OnlyFans in his name. Is that identity theft? I think it is.
Well, he's dead, so I think no one. I wouldn't really be identity theft because like
You can
everyone
still get
understands that
legal
he's
identity.
dead.
The question is not who will let me; it's who will stop me. Okay.
Not I.
That's oh.
It's like a bold man, and not Akira. God rest his soul.
All right, we're gonna call it there. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.